This is Countdown to Economic Collapse, May 13th, 2012. I'm David John Sponheim, running for president under America's Third Party. This is a very bad time for Wall Street. JP Morgan Chase just announced a $2 billion loss. That's right, $2 billion loss. Now here's a company that makes about $19 billion a year. Investment strategies are starting to go belly up. They've taken hedge funds and they've made big mistakes. The available for sale securities, which is the area in which JP Morgan was investing, went upside down on them. And this is a very bad sign. Remember, JP Morgan was the organization that triggered the Great Depression. They called in all their margin loans and all of a sudden there was a huge problem back in 1929. But we're seeing this happen at a very critical time. The Financial Stability Oversight Council has not been convened to deal with this issue. Barack Obama has provided no leadership, and like I've said before, he has the same people on the SEC that George Bush had there. We are seeing no major changes from the policies that led us to the 2008 debacle. This is bad. Our country is facing some serious problems. Energy prices are spiking. OPEC is announcing they're not really able to control the price, the barrel of oil, but Saudi Arabia is saying they want $100 per barrel. That's the target price. And they hope to increase production to meet the demand as the coming months and summer always sees more people driving on the highways in the United States. This should ultimately keep the price down. But remember, Barack Obama is still going ahead with the oil embargo against Iran, which is putting a lot of pressure on OPEC. So we are seeing over the entire broad spectrum of things, general meltdowns across the globe. The European disaster is still unfolding. Greece now has a leftist leader who is not agreeing with the fiscal austerity program that Greece was put on in order to finance their debt. You see how this is playing out? The people don't want to make major cuts. The politicians don't want to make major cuts. The two coincide to create a crisis in the economies that are at play. Greece is one of them, Portugal another, Spain, Italy. All of these countries are very, very questionable in terms of their financial stability. Now, what happens with the euro will lead to what goes on in America. And America is right now not dealing with the systemic flaws in our economy. We talk about that on every show. The fact that we haven't dealt with the housing crisis, people still have problems with foreclosures. The foreclosure industry is actually going full bore. They're closing in on houses that have been sitting out there with people living in them, not paying their mortgage payments. Now, I'm concerned that companies like Wells Fargo, which are showing positive returns right now on their available for sale securities, could be just like JP Morgan. And I'm also concerned that JP Morgan might just initiate some sort of payback, like calling in their margin loans. This concept could trigger a lot of panic on Wall Street. There are very portentous, ominous things ahead with the kind of hedge fund investments that are going on with no restrictions by Washington. There are stores that are emptying their shelves all around the country. You're noticing when you go to the produce section in your local area, you'll see that there's less produce on the shelves because people aren't buying. That's right, people are cutting back and the economy is stalling. Little indications like that and the malls around the country that are empty or half empty shows that this economy is not rebounding, that we're still very much in the Great Recession, as they call it. And I believe we're in a depression. I believe the Democrats are just making up stories that they're doing a good job just to get Barack Obama elected. Here's a time when a president is completely unable to get criticism, because if people criticize the president, they're accused of being a racist. This is pure demagoguery. Obama is in a position where he is leading this nation astray, virtually sabotaging our economy by overspending. He's overspent $5.5 trillion since he became president. This is beyond the overspending of Congress. Now, I think if we don't start waking up to the reality that if we are going to sit back and watch this same president become renewed again, and this incumbent president continue, we might just see this whole thing fester and get worse and worse as time goes on. But if we move fast with a new president in 2013, we can begin triggering job growth and solve the housing crisis, which is so desperate and we so need to do. But without a new president, I don't see any change. It's certainly not the change that Barack Obama promises. You know, one of my biggest concerns in our country is young people who graduate from college right now, they're graduating with huge student loans. $1 trillion are sitting out there, just vulnerable. $1 trillion worth of FAFSA loans that are not going to be paid back necessarily. That too will put pressure on the financial sector in this country. If people don't get jobs out of college, they can't finance their student loans. It's that simple. So obviously we need to start creating jobs. And Obama is not committed to creating jobs. He said so himself. He said the government is not responsible for creating jobs. Well, I think the other way. I think the government should trigger new free enterprise operations, partnering the private sector with the public sector, and creating jobs that are automatic right out of college, where you can get certification that will get you a job right away. This is the kind of plan that we want to put into effect in 2013. Now, if you're as concerned as I am about the future of this country, you probably know that we're not going to get out of the situation we're in with the same old, same old. Barack Obama doesn't have any new ideas. For me, this is a no-brainer. If you vote for Mitt Romney, you're voting for a liquidator, an outsourcer, a guy who all he does is buy up companies, profit from them, take out more loans, and then make them go bankrupt, and then sell them to some foreign entity. That is the Mitt Romney approach, and that won't help our country. He'll have a wholesale bargain basement discount of our nation's resources. And similarly, if Barack Obama gets another 4 more years, his corporate cronies that get him elected will continue doing what they're doing, which is financing their wealth on the backs of you, the taxpayer. His democratic socialist model is failing. There's no way the working class can hold up the non-working class. Nearly half the population no longer pays taxes in America, which is an example of how the socialist model is failing. I believe that we have a way. Our book, Hybrid Capitalism, shows that way. We've got a way in which the government can get a return on investments, which will lower the amount of taxes that you'll have to pay, and will maintain a sustainable future for our entire economy. So if you want to find out more about our economy and talk about these issues directly with me, I do a weekly show from Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific on Blog TV. And I urge you to check that out. It's also posted on our main site at americasthirdparty.com. I'm David John Sponheim, and I support this message.
ATP, you and me.